People want jobs, they don't want work. There's a difference between a job and what? Work. And I'm going to show you shortly. So they just want jobs to show off, put on ties and have this powerful job. But when they get there, they don't want to work. So this is a problem. We cannot develop the human resource without work ethic. There are nations like Japan which don't even have any resources. Singapore, they don't have natural resources. What they have done is to develop their what? Human resource. If you put an industry in Singapore, you'll know it will work because people are very hardworking. In Japan, many people work more than 10, 12, 16 hours a day. That's how that nation has greatly developed. Right after the Second World War, they realized they didn't have a lot of natural resources. They started to develop their human resource. By the way, for God to bless a nation, the major two resources are the human beings and the natural resources, land. Land and the human resources are the greatest and the most important resources God gives to the nation. The most important are human beings. The second is land. Even if you have land and natural resources, without the human beings with the capacity to innovate and work and change, the resources will be squandered. The other resources like land, capital, and others will be squandered. Look at Congo. Congo has the wealth of Congo combined 6 nations in Europe. It's richer than US, $21 trillion. Congo. US is about what, 16. German 4. You can combine 8 nations in Europe to get the wealth of Congo. But because Congo does not have the human resource developed, all her resources are being what? Squandered and wasted. And the people there in total, complete poverty. Because they are always worrying, fighting, small things, while the others are coming and taking away their gold. These powerful minerals that you talk about, all these phones have coltan and other minerals that you can't get elsewhere. They are in Congo. But the human resource is not well developed. They don't understand what they need to do. They don't value things. You come and buy them small money for them to go so that you can take away their gold and their coltan, which you can't get elsewhere. So you can see how important these resources are, especially 2, 3, 4, and 5. They all depend on the human resource, the work ethic, the people themselves. So what we are doing here is to speak to you, the youth, the leaders that are going to be the leaders tomorrow in Atiak. You changing can attract so much money that people would want to live in what? In Atiak. You understand that? Somebody said one time, and I thought about it and said it's right. If you take a nation like Israel and you take Ugandans to Israel, now, all Ugandans, 42 million Ugandans, put them in Israel. Bring the Jews, who are only 8 million, put them here. In 10 years, all Ugandans in Israel will asking for a visa to come back to Uganda. Do you agree with me? Yes. Because they will change it so. When they come here, they really marvel what we have. Everything is green. We have land, we have rain twice a year, we have beautiful soils. They really marvel that people can live in poverty. When you go to Israel, it's desert. Total, complete desert. Yet they feed all of Europe. They feed Europe with fruits and vegetables. They have only one lake, Lake Galilee, which you read about in the Bible. The only lake they have. They use the water, and it's the only water they have, so they use it in a way that is amazing. You go and flush the toilet, you urinate in the toilet, you flush that water, it goes through channels and it comes back in the next 2-3 hours. It's the same water you are drinking. You understand that? Yes, because they don't have a lot of water. They have developed systems where they do drip irrigation, meaning They studied the plant, and they said this is the only amount of water it needs every day. So it just drops. So it gets into the soil through the roots, then it evaporates, and then it comes back. So it's the only water from Lake Gali that they are using in everything. So they have developed systems that's just amazing. Somebody was showing me a pictures yesterday, Mama Maria. She's there in Israel. She sent me a picture and said, these bananas came from Uganda, and the soil, you saw that? And they were showing us the bananas they picked from here, and the soil. They had to take soil in aeroplanes from here because they have desert and sand. They don't have soil. For us, we have plenty of it. We even wash it off our feet and legs because we have plenty of it. For them, they don't have soil. They had to come and pick it here. To take it, they took our matoke, bananas, and they are beautiful bananas. So you see how important to change the people. So if we change you, the youth who are here, and you change your perspective and mind about work, and then you change, and then you start to get these big visions, you can change this place, and people will be running to come here to attack. So you understand that? So you are the future of this place. When you change, everything will change. God does not change your environment. He changes you. It is you he changes, and then you change the what? The environment. Does that make sense? Are you ready to change this place, to transform it? Yes. Are you ready to transform it? Yes. How many are ready to transform it? Only 5? Okay. Okay, you are ready. So now listen to what I'm going to be sharing. The reason I always start like this is because when you change people's philosophy, you change the theology of the people, then you change their philosophy of life, which then changes their political and economic ideology, and then it changes the programs, laws, and policies in a nation like Uganda. For us to transform Uganda, we always start with changing the theology of the people. And I'm going to give examples how this has happened in various nations. As David has told you, I've taken many, many years, about 20 years now, studying this topic, how a nation is transformed. I've done a lot of research and study to realize that we put sometimes emphasis where we shouldn't and leave certain things, which are most important. Now, theology is very important. Theology is the way you believe. You see, God created this world. God created the spirit world and the material world. There are laws that He set in motion which don't change. So if you have a wrong perspective about land, about people, about work, and yet God, the Creator, has set these laws in motion, you cannot develop. You cannot succeed. You cannot sustainably change a community because your perspective is wrong and his isn't. And because He set this motion, set these laws in motion, which don't change, you will end up failing. I'll give you an example of the communists. They thought, we have to change, we have to take over nations. There was a man called Karl Marx, and his friend Friedrich Engels, and later on Darwin. They combined their theories and said, we have to take these human beings, they're like animals, and we have to treat them like animals and change them. So they started in France where they didn't succeed. Briefly, they took over. They didn't succeed. So they managed to get a whole nation called Russia. And they said, let's do an experiment here. After 70 years, the people there, the death, in the last century, 200 million people died just because these three people wanted to experiment on human beings, trying to change the order that God had set, resulting in 200 million people die. Even now, the people are dying in China. Have you heard of coronavirus? These people were trying to do something in the lab, and these escaped from them. You can't tell the world. But they were trying to bring control. That's why that thing is happening there. It's not what they are saying. But communists say, no, human beings don't have a spirit. They are just material. They called it dialectic materialism. And they combined it with the Darwin saying, the law of survival is the survival of the fittest. The one who is most fit survives. The weaker one, that is the Darwin theory. And when Darwin brought his and combined with the others, they were so happy. Because Darwin came from philosophy, then Engel came from economic side. So when they combined it with the natural science, they said, we've come up with the solution. We are getting rid of God, and we'll get rid of families, and then we'll get rid of the fear of people have about God. And then we'll start a society, and it will be wonderful. So it will be very wonderful. 200 million people died because they had to force people. They confiscated their property. Now, if you have a wrong theology, you end up with the wrong philosophy, like they did, their communism. Then it starts to affect their politics and their economics because they are using dialectic materialism. Their economic interpretations were all wrong. You can't tell people to work together in a community like here at Yak and tell them greed. Capitalism is bad because people are greedy, so we will own everything together. Have you heard of that? That is communism. Everything is all ours, together. God did not say that. God said, thou shalt not steal. When he said, thou shalt not steal, he meant